Sometimes I'll pick themes of the day, and today I'm focusing on posture, driving my scapula back down, and putting my chest out because it's been something I've been struggling with. I've been feeling the weight of the world wanting to pull me forward and close my chest, and I can feel it in my back. Also, something interesting is that Tony Robbins, he talks about how they did a study. I cannot remember where the study was done, but they did a study on a blood test for people who are drawn forward like this. Shows that we secrete more cortisol because this is a guarded place here, guarding all the major vital organs. And then people who are drawn back with their shoulders tucked, higher testosterone. And if you know anything about those catabolic, anabolic states, cortisol and testosterone kind of work like yin and yang. Robert Sapolsky is also a great author if you want to learn more about the stress response and things like cortisol. But basically, if our cortisol is higher, we're in more of that sympathetic fight or flight tone. And then if our testosterone's higher, we are obviously more in that parasympathetic tone. Neither of them are bad, right? Because like we would never wake up in the morning without that boost of cortisol. And cortisol is so important like in regulating all of our hormones. So, but today's theme of the day for me is going to be pulling back my shoulders and driving my scapula down so that I can be upright and my breathing airway, my spine can be clear. And I did share this one of my favorite passages yesterday in a video that I posted, but I figured we might as well share it also today too, because sometimes I get stuck on these passages in A Course in Miracles, and it's just like it's exactly what I need to read at that time. And it's just, sometimes you have themes in life. And right now I'm working on forgiveness. And that's something I've been struggling with because I feel like there's sometimes people in life, they take advantage of you, and sometimes that sometimes it's not from an intentional place, it's unconscious from those certain people, but it doesn't make it any less painful at the time. So I've just been working on trying to forgive myself also for, staying too long. If you ever stayed too long in situations you knew you should have left, like you didn't value yourself enough to leave, that's something that has been coming up for a lot for me lately. And it's more like it's like grief, really. That's what it is. It's, if someone really close to you passes away, sometimes it takes a long time to go through that process of letting them go and letting that version of you who interacted with them go. And you might feel all fine and good, and then one day after that time period, it comes back. Like you start to miss that person again. I always think of like, I have a few friends who have lost parents, and I'm so lucky that I have both of my parents, but you never stop missing them. That's what they say. And so anyway, this is called The Forgiven World. Can you imagine how beautiful those you forgive will look to you? In no fantasy have you ever seen anything so lovely. Nothing you see here, sleeping or waking, comes near to such loveliness. And this loveliness is not a fantasy, it is the real world, bright and clean and new, with everything sparkling under the sun. All this beauty will rise to bless your sight as you look upon the world with forgiving eyes, for forgiveness literally transforms vision and lets you see the real world quietly and gently across chaos, removing all illusions that had twisted your perception and fixed it on the past. This book is always talking about clearing our perception, allowing us to see the world accurately around us. And they always say like forgiveness is not for anybody else but for you, so that you can let go of that burden. So as much as when I think about that person who didn't treat me the way that I wanted to be treated and expected to be treated, it's not about them. It's about forgiving myself for not walking away and not respecting myself. And that has been like, that I'm my own worst critic a lot of the times. That has been the most frustrating part, the part that I need to forgive the most, and I'm working to forgive constantly. It's like waves, 1,000 waves just keep coming through. And it's good, like that moment situation is so far past, but again, grief comes in waves, and it's okay to, still having these moments. Like they say, life is like a spiral, the Fibonacci sequence, like life is a spiral. Same thing with patterns and people. Like you could be in a bad relationship with someone, and maybe you don't get to the root of why you ended up in that situation in the first place, and you get into the next relationship, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It might not look like it at first. It might be a whole different person, whole different type of demeanor, but you somehow at some certain point you get to the same patterns again and again and again. It's the more or less the same lesson showing up in a different form. That's what they call the Fibonacci sequence. And so it's not exactly like what they call it, but the Fibonacci sequence is like a spiral that works its way outwards. So everything is kind of like like the single cell, and then you work to organs, and then you work to tissues, and or tissues, organs, and then the greater body, the greater whole, and then you zoom out and you see the earth. So I think it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but the forgiven world is, like they say, it's so much clearer, it's so much more beautiful. And there was someone who asked a question last month that I have been thinking about a lot lately. They said, how do you know when you've forgiven someone? And just like it says, can you imagine how beautiful those you've forgiven will look to you? Sorry, I think I just broke. I got caught up in that dramatic pause. But when you think about a person, like, does it bring a wave of anger? And it's so beautiful. Like, the wave of anger is supposed to be present. Like, don't push the anger away. Acknowledge it, and let it move through you. And usually, like Dr. David Hawkins talks about power versus force. A lot of the times that wave of anger is really, like, if you go down a layer underneath, it's really just sadness that we try to work our way up through anger, because anger is, we don't always like to cry, but when we're angry, we can use that as a force. We use that anger as fire. So I can express that fire through exercise, through rage. I can also go a step higher and express it as pride, right? Anger makes me act. And so when I act, I can also build on pride. But he also talks about how that is not very long-term sustaining. So to go down to the root of it is usually just sadness. And that's all. It's all good. It's meant to come up. So if you have somebody in your life, there's an invitation. If you have somebody in your life that you're having trouble forgiving, remember that it's just you that you are forgiving. And because they say everybody is an extension of ourselves. And then also just think about that situation. Stay with it. Think about it. Let it sit there. And let those emotions pass through. Like they say, one of my friends says, it only takes 45 seconds to feel an emotion. Joe Hudson talks about it. It only takes a small amount of time to feel those emotions, like let them come through. And then once they've come through, it's like a purge. It's a beautiful purge. You ever gotten sick? Or if you ever heard of ayahuasca, it's a purging process. It's a cleansing process. Emotions stay in our body, and a lot of times they weigh us down. They make us heavy. A lot of times people can't lose weight when they're trying to get their health in order, because it's emotional blocks that have gotten us to that point. We have emotions, and then we have habits, and those habits, those emotions, they shape our daily life. They shape our routines, who we choose to interact with, why we have the certain habits and or addictions, stuff like that. Everybody has addictions. So anyway, I'm going to leave this here. I hope this is helpful for you as you go throughout your day. I love A Course in Miracles, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to catch you later.